Control-Shift-Enter. You might think, why did you just do that? Well, today's lesson is all about keyboard shortcuts. Imagine if your boss walked into your office and he handed you a stack of papers and he says, I want these digitized by tomorrow. You look at the papers and they are 50 pages long. That's going to take you a while. But by using keyboard shortcuts, you can reduce that time considerably. Now, I'll be taking more of a shotgun approach to this lesson. I just want to show you a lot of keyboard shortcuts, and if all these seem overwhelming, don't worry, we'll be using these throughout the course. This is just to get your feet wet with these shortcuts. I would highly encourage you to download this workbook and work alongside me, because the best way to learn it is to do it. Now, I'm not expecting you to memorize all of these. I just want you to be familiar with them, so when we use them again later on in the course, you'll know what I'm talking about. So, let's buckle up, and let's get started. So let me show you one option to where you can save time. It's a natural data entry method people incorporated in Excel, and it reminds me of how old-fashioned typewriters used to work. First, let's zoom in. Let's press Control and use the mouse wheel on the mouse to kind of scroll up. It allows you to zoom in some. Let's start off with here. Let's start off with, let's say, first name, last name. Let's go date. Let's go time. Watch what happens when I press enter. It goes down one row and all the way back to the beginning, kind of like how a typewriter would be. They would start typing, they would type, tab, tab, tab. Then when they wanted to go to a new line, you would hear this ding. It would go all the way back to the beginning, you would slide over. This reminds me of how data entry works in Excel. Let's say it was 10 columns long, and let's say you could type 60 words a minute. So you're pretty proficient. So it takes you one word every second. So let's say you were typing. Usually what I would do is I would do tab, tab, tab. Then I would leave my keyboard, go to my mouse, click the next cell, I would enter more data. And that takes about 2 seconds off of your time. To leave it, click the next one, go back to your keyboard, get situated. So that can waste a couple of seconds, which you think, well, that's not too long. But if it only takes you 10 seconds to do every line, that 2 seconds is a 20% slowing down of your time. That's a lot. So if it's a 10-hour project, you could be spending 2 hours longer doing your project. But by eliminating that, you can be saving 2 hours on your project. That's a lot. So by just simply using this method, you can save a couple of hours depending on what kind of project you have. Alright, let's start off by entering in some data. Let's go with my good friend Bob Ross. I didn't mean to do that, it was just a happy accident. Alright, so for the date shortcut, simply press Control semicolon. That enters a static date, so unlike the today function, it's not going to update every time you open the workbook. It's going to stay as this date. So press Tab. Now for the time, press Control-Shift-Colon. Enter. And just like that, we have your keyboard shortcut for date and time. Now let's go to the numbering. If you want to make a quick list or a quick schedule, here's a great way of doing it. First, when I started doing lists, I would go 1, enter, 2, enter, go down. But try this instead. Select these two, go down to the bottom right until it becomes a black plus sign. Click it, drag it. So what this is doing is copying, pasting, and it understands that you're making a list. Excel is pretty smart at seeing patterns in how you work. So let's delete this. Let's go over. Let's say you wanted to make a schedule. Let's start off at 9 a.m. Let's go down. So click it. Try this. Click, drag downward. And now you have a schedule. Same goes for days of the week. Let me go ahead and... Actually, I'm just going to drag these. I'm going to go click and drag downward so you can move it around. Let's make a schedule. Let's try a Monday. Tab. Let's click here. And also recognizes days of the week. I'm going to click, I'm going to drag over. So in just a couple of seconds, I have a work schedule. Pretty cool, huh? Let's go ahead and get rid of this. So now let's go over quick ways of selecting data. So if I want to quickly navigate data, I can press Control right, and it goes to the last non-blank cell. So it was over here, the last non-blank cell is the one directly to the right. Control right arrow. Watch when I click Control right arrow again. It goes to the last non-blank cell. So likewise, go back, go control down again, and it brings me all the way to the bottom. Now all I have to do is add a shift button to this, and now I can begin to select things. So let's press Control Shift up. Now I've selected everything up to the last non-blank cell. Now press Shift up, and now you can select them one at a time. So instead of going to the last non-blank cell, you can now select them one at a time. Let's go Shift up, Shift down, 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 down. Let's go Shift up one more. Control Shift right. Oof. Now we've selected everything all the way to the end. So sometimes this can be helpful, sometimes it can be not so helpful. Let's go Control Shift left, back where we started. So now let's try just Shift right, 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 right. And now we have this entire selection. Alright, let's go ahead and delete that. Press Control Home, brings us back to the beginning. Now let's press Shift Space. Now we've selected the entire row. Likewise, let's click the left arrow key. Let's press Control Space. Now we've selected the entire column. Let's go down one. Let's see, switching cells. Let's press Shift right arrow key. Let's say we wanted to switch something up. Let's say, you know what, I want to have these switching cells to be up one, and I want these selecting columns to be down one. In years past, I would select these, I would copy these, I would paste these over here, Control V. I would take these, it would be a bit of a process. Press Control Z. Alright, just press Escape to get out of that. So now what we can do, press the Shift button. Shift button, now we go down here, we can click, we can drag it upward, let go, and now we have switched these two cells with these two cells. This will save you a lot of time in the long run. Let's go down. Let's see, select all, that is Control A. It selects this entire data range. It recognizes, it says, okay, I'm going to go all the way up. Oh, there's a blank row. I'm not going to select that. It says, oh, there's a blank column. I'm not going to select that. So Control A selects the entire data range. I've already covered navigation, select cell ranges. It's just that Shift button is the only difference in those two. Let's see. Inserting a new cell, column, or row. So let's say we wanted a new row. Of course, we'll press Shift Enter, select that entire row. Now, if we want a new row, try Control Shift plus, and that inserts another row. Everything is shifted downward. This time, let's press Control minus. That deletes the entire row. Same thing for the column. Let's press Control space. Oh, my apologies. Control space. There we go. All right. Control Shift plus adds a new column. Let's press Control minus, and it deletes the column. Lastly, let's talk about the Alt button. So by pressing the Alt button, all these little buttons light up. All these tabs light up. So now we have F, H, P, all these things at the top, and you say, what is going on? Well, that allows you to do a keyboard shortcut. So now, let's go to the View tab. So over here, you have the View tab, which is W. We have all these things on the bottom, which is the Quick Access toolbar. So if I wanted to, let's say if I wanted to mess with the font, I would press number 4. And now I can mess with the font. Let's keep it as is. Let's press Alt. Let's go to the View tab, which is W. And now let's open a new window, which would be letter N. Now I'm going to press N. Nothing happened. Well, actually something did happen. Down here you can see, now I have 2 workbooks open. Well, seemingly 2. It's actually the same workbook, but it's in a new window. So watch what the advantage is. I'm going to press the Windows button and use my right arrow key to scoot it over to the right. Just like that. So now, let's go to A2. We'll zoom in some. Alright. Let's go to A2. Now if I enter something in here, it also shows up in the other window. You might say, well, how is this really helpful? Well, Imagine if you had a lot of worksheets down here. One time I was given by my boss about 50 worksheets on one workbook. So using cell referencing was a headache. So because usually what I would do, I would go, okay, I want to reference something. Let's go equals, and let's go to the practice tab. Let's reference this. Let's join it with a 1. Enter. Now I have to do that on each and every single worksheet. But now what you can do is let's go to a different worksheet on one of these windows. Now let's see how easy cell referencing is. Equals. Click on Kenneth. 1. Enter. Look how easy that is. This will save you a lot of time. If you have a lot of cell referencing on different worksheets, I would definitely recommend using this method. Hope this was helpful. Now let's go ahead and clock out. Control-Shift-: Enter. And let's see how long this has been. Let's say equals this. Use the up arrow keys. Minus the start time. Enter. 11 minutes. So this is a quick way of logging in your times if you want to, or seeing how long projects take. Again, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many keyboard shortcuts you can learn. I have a link up here, the keyboard shortcuts you can click. It goes directly to Microsoft Office's homepage to help you out with any keyboard shortcuts for both Mac and PC. So I'll mainly be focusing on Windows shortcuts, but you can definitely apply these to Mac, the Mac version. I hope all this was helpful, and I'll see you again in the next lesson.